And welcome to Putting Pieces Back Together, brought to you by Purple Heart Homes. And how are you, Devil Dog Devin?
I'm not
Are you
doing so well. I feel misplaced.
We do. We're like in some new chairs.
This is kind of ridiculous.
And we're not the guest.
No. What kind of guest could kick us out of our own seats?
The one that writes our checks.
That's right. And that brings us to who we have today, is we've got two very, very important people, VIPs here at Purple Heart Homes. Mike Lennon, board member and USMC retired. And
do you feel better about that?
What's that?
Actually having someone so you're not singled out now?
Having another Marine? Honestly, I think he's going to make more fun of me than any of y'all. So that's, I'm not sure if that's a benefit.
And we also have our very own John Gallina.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say, having two Marines in here on our flanks, I feel surrounded.
Sir, you were surrounded when there was just one of us.
True.
You are a legend in your own mind.
Well, that is true. Yes.
At least they go first in the trenches. We can just watch and see what happens when they drown. Then we'll know where not to go.
Well, the great thing about Mike is he's flying high in that Cobra, helping provide some air cover for us. And
oh, nice.
So he's taking care of us. I don't know what Devin's doing.
Driving a forklift.
That's true. I drove forklifts and front end loaders and scrapers and graders, and I didn't drive the rest of them so well, honestly.
You make your job sound cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, and sometimes it was cool. But speaking of cool jobs, being the host of this show is a pretty cool job.
It is.
But John used to be a host of this show.
And guess who replaced him? This girl. But it was a good choice, right, John?
And you're doing a great job at it.
But so far. So far.
I know, it's my only 8th show, so no one's counting except me.
Except for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not played in order, so the audience might be going,
that's 8th?
Right. John, how does it feel being a guest instead of a host? Is that weird?
I don't know that I would say it's weird, but a little different. Just watching you two grow and certainly be able to interview all these guests that you have interviewed. It's really been great, and it's not all about being in front of everybody, being the CEO. It's seeing other people grow and lead the mission and carry the flag forward. And you guys are doing a great job with that, and I'm thankful for you.
I'm telling you, it's real humbling experience to be in the presence of some of these individuals that we have helped or that have helped us. Just to hear their story firsthand has been a real treasure.
Y'all have had a plethora of people come through from different backgrounds, not just the veterans, but some of the supporters and sponsors and just folks that are out there trying to make a difference in the lives of veterans. And I think all of it's humbling personally that you see people that they just want to give back. They just want to help, and that's really what the show's all about. Is what does it take to be able to help a veteran? What are all the pieces, all the elements from the community that make that difference? And you guys are helping to tell that story.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I feel humbled to be part of this organization. And it's amazing to get to do this, where we get to talk to veterans and supporters and tell the stories. And we want to do more of that. So y'all out there in the listening audience, whether you're listening on radio or Facebook or what have you, hey, comment down below or if you're listening on radio, go to a social media site, comment. And if there's guests that you think we should have on, let us know. Give us some interaction. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button while you're there.
Right.
Yeah. So we also have Mike Lennon.
Hey.
I was wondering if you were just going to wave and not talk.
Yeah, I'm like, it's radio. I can't just wave.
The radio people couldn't hear you wave. I didn't.
I'll wave faster. I'll break the sound barrier.
There you go.
Well, you didn't, you were a pilot, but you didn't fly things that could break the sound barrier though, right?
Right.
What was that you were flying?
AH-1 J, T, and W Cobra model helicopters in the Marine Corps.
The Cobra model helicopter. Oh, that was always like the helicopter that appeared in every 80s action movie.
Right.
Yeah. So if you were a little kid and you're like, I want to fly that thing. Oh, that'd be so cool. That's what Mike did.
We used to go to air shows and put a little, what do they call those tags that you can make with the squeezy thing? We would put whisper mode on one of the switches in there. And then whenever kids wanted to come up and see the helicopter, you'd open up the cockpit, they'd see whisper mode.
Whisper mode.
That is so cool.
Is there really a whisper mode?
I wonder how many future pilots we made just by, showing a 4-year-old, 5-year-old whisper mode.
Oh man, that's cool.
Now, Mike's the only helicopter pilot that I know that's ever gotten a ticket from a North Carolina police officer for double parking a helicopter.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Is this a true story?
Yeah, I've showed John the photograph. We were doing a static display downtown Jacksonville, North Carolina in about 1988 or 89. And I think Rich Kamich and I flew, landed in downtown on the bridge, and then pulled the thing down in front of a bank or something. And a police officer was walking by putting, traffic control stuff out and looked at me and said, "Hey, you can't park that thing here." I said, "Oh yeah, give me a ticket." And next thing I know, he's like, "Show me your driver's license." So I got a photograph of me whipping out my driver's license and my wallet. And I think it was in the front page of the Jacksonville newspaper or something.
Did they dismiss the ticket at least?
No, I think I still have the ticket.
We'll be sure to
Purple Heart Homes the website.
We'll be sure to air the show after you've left the state and went back home to Virginia.
Oh yeah, there might be a warrant out for your
it's
arrest.
Like if you check out a book in grade school and you never turned it in, it's probably like $8,000 ticket now or something.
I wonder what the fines are on it. Yeah, that'd be great. Let's look it up. Yeah.
So Mike, tell us a little bit about how you came to be aware of Purple Heart Homes and kind of give some of the backstory. I don't know that Devin or Leah really know the backstory and how you became originally a supporter.
Yeah, in 2007, I became an employee of a company called SAP, which is a technology company. It's one of the big 3 or something. And I was supporting the U.S. Army. And my boss was leaving the company, and he said, "Hey, do you want to take over a job that I've had as the chairman of a golf tournament benefiting the Fisher House Foundation?" So I said, "Sure, I'll do it." I had a friend, another pilot, a Huey pilot in the Marine Corps, Derek Donovan, who was the director of operations at the Fisher House Foundation. And so I called Derek, said, "Hey, what's this golf tournament about?" He said, "We're not going to do it for a while. I'll get you up to speed on it." Anyway, fast forward a few months. The day of the golf tournament, it was pouring down rain, like build a ark rain, right? And it was cold. It was the kind of day that if you were not playing in a golf tournament, you would just call your buddies and say, "I'm not playing anymore." So anyway, a guy walks up to me and says, "It's so cold, I can't feel my feet." I look down and I realize that Dale's standing a foot away from me, looking at his titanium lower legs and feet, and I realized that I had just been hooked.
That's awesome. And of course, Mike is referring to Dale Beatty, one of the co-founders of Purple Heart Homes. That's a great story, but we're going to have to come up on a break. We got sponsors to pay. This show doesn't pay for itself. So, hey, you've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. If you want to catch any part of this broadcast, go to YouTube. Check us out at Purple Heart Homes on YouTube. And we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together. Devin, why are you staring at me? Wow. I'm sitting here rehearsing what I'm going to say in my head, and Devin's just staring at me.
I was actually looking at John. He is to your right.
Yes.
Look over that direction.
Devin, why are you staring at me?
Well, that's a whole different story. And, I don't want to get HR involved. So,
So for those of you who are just tuning in, listening to us, or watching us on social media, we are with John Gallina, our CEO of Purple Heart Homes, and Mike Lennon, a Purple Heart Home board member and U.S. Marine Corps retired.
I don't think you have to say the whole thing every time.
But it sounds better. USMC. I mean, I sound like I'm stating a college or something.
You do, yeah.
I appreciate the respect. So
Yeah, absolutely. If someone else doesn't.
Wow.
Thumbs pointing at Devin for those of you listening.
Man, throwing shade.
Notice I'm on my best behavior here.
And we should be too, being that, sitting amongst giants here. But
Well, it's all in good fun. We have an audience who loves to hear the meaningless banter.
did you know we're up to 12 people now?
Oh, gosh. What? Do we have 12 viewers?
We have 12. We went from 10 since I've joined. We joined 2 more.
Probably because I left the show. You'll be back down to 10 today.
Oh, gosh. Well, right before the break, Mike was talking to us about how he actually became involved with Purple Heart Homes.
Yeah, so Dale looked at me and said, "Hey, I know it's raining and it's not a day where you'd normally play golf, but I'm not here to have fun. We're here to raise money for the Fisher House Foundation, and I'm going to go play golf. I'd appreciate it if you get the rest of these people out on the course too." So I said, "Okay, give me a minute." I went and talked to the pro and to, I think, Dave Coker or Derek from the Fisher House Foundation. I said, "We want to go play golf." And they said, "Yeah, okay, no lightning, no thunder. Stay on the cart paths and go." So everybody put on their rubber Gumby suits and played golf in standing water that was 2, 3, 4 inches deep in the middle of the golf course. After about 5 holes, we stopped. It stopped raining. We kind of dried off, and then we went in and raised a lot of money for the Fisher House Foundation. So I pulled Dale aside after the golf tournament. I said, "Tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing." And he said, "Yeah, what we're going to do is we're starting a nonprofit construction company that helps veterans of all generations." And I said, "What does that mean to you?" And he told me about John and Dale both having veterans that had served in the military before 9/11, Korea, Vietnam, World War II. And that really got my attention because my dad was a Korean vet, end of World War II vet, and nobody ever did anything for my dad. I can remember as a child, my mom picking little pieces of shrapnel and metal out of his neck and his upper back because he had been wounded several times, 3 Purple Hearts. And I just thought that was normal behavior, but nobody from outside the family ever helped my dad or any of his friends. So to have this guy that was born the year that I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1978, talking to me about helping older veterans, it just really struck a nerve. So Dale used to look at me and say, "Hey, when you're done with that SAP stuff," he wouldn't call it SAP, he called it SAP. "When you're done with SAP, give me a call. We'd really like to get some help from you, growing our organization so that we can serve more veterans." And then he introduced me to John, and I started coming down to your golf tournament down here. I think I've been at every one of them. If not, I've missed one, but I've been to a lot of them.
Yeah, you have been to most of them. And he introduced you to John, and you still kept coming back. That is...
He owes me money.
Bless you.
That's how I keep people around. That's right.
No, but I just felt blessed. I mean, to me, that's an overused word sometimes, but I really felt blessed to meet 2 people that had such a shared vision and such a perspective on helping veterans from previous generations. And then I love the mission, helping others age in place, the tiny home mission, all these different things that we're helping to members of the community, because there is a lot of need out there.
There is a lot, and it's more than any one organization or group can cover, and that's why we focus mostly on the construction needs, but there's definitely a lot of room for other organizations and other hearts and that are interested in helping push the veteran cause forward. And so we really appreciate what you're doing, being part of the board. But you're not just on the board. You're an active member in our new chapter in Virginia.
Yeah, I'm hyperactive. I can't sit still.
You stood up that chapter though, right?
Well, I didn't really stand up at the chapter. I don't want to take credit for that, Devin, because what happened is a Marine Corps buddy of mine, David Wood, said, "Hey, I'm going to have dinner with some friends of mine. Why don't you come over to Lynchburg?" So I drove from Natural Bridge, Virginia, where I live, to Lynchburg, met 7, 8 people that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
And out of that, one of them was a guy named Steve Bozeman. So Steve is a Marine, served in 66. He had broken time. He got out for a little bit, but he was a door gunner on H-34s in Vietnam. He was wounded twice in combat. He was decorated for valor in combat for pulling another Marine out of a burning helicopter. Steve Bozeman, he's run the Marine Corps Marathon 44 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
So Steve Bozeman is a community, he didn't want me to call him a legend, but he's just a wonderful human being. So I started going to the monthly Lynchburg Area Veterans Council meeting in Lynchburg, Virginia. They meet once a month. It's 7 or 8 different veteran serving organizations that all just pass the baton around and ask, how can we each help each other to help the veterans in our community? So after going to those meetings for a while, Steve introduced me to Rex Brust, and Rex and several other gentlemen and a couple of ladies said, hey, tell us more about this Purple Heart Homes mission. And I think along the way, you stopped by, John came by, met people. Eventually, they just said, we want to have some of that up here. We have a lot of veterans that need what Purple Heart Homes does. So about a year ago, we stood up a chapter. We actually did our first project before we had a chapter. It was in January of last year. It was about 25 degrees and 10 or 15 mile an hour winds.
wow.
And while we were doing that project, Val was the project manager, and there was a gentleman standing there crying for almost the whole day. And I just asked him why he was crying. Why was he so emotional? And he described to me how it would allow, this ramp that we were building would allow the veteran to leave his home for the first time in months and to make his VA appointments and to reduce the burden on neighbors and family who had to help him down his stairs.
oh my
And
gosh.
so it just really, it just touched my heart that a simple project like putting a ramp off the side of somebody's deck could make such a life-changing circumstance for them, or whatever you want to call it.
I think with us too, as being military or veterans, we don't tend to ask people for help. And so when you do have to reach out, it's kind of, I don't want to say it hurts your ego or anything. I mean, that's a bad way to do it, but you just have some pride that you don't want to ask for help. So when you're able to alleviate that burden on other people, and for that veteran to be able to go, I don't have to rely on people. I can do things on my own now. I think that's a really true statement.
And I think that from the perspective of the older veteran population, that's exasperated by, and many times, how they were welcomed home and their view of the VA. And the VA provides wheelchair ramps, right? And I've been asked that hundreds and hundreds of times. The problem is most veterans don't want a ramp from the VA, particularly that Vietnam generation.
Yeah.
And so, we feel a gap that it makes it okay that a veteran organization is coming in to help them. It's their brothers and sisters. It's the community through the vehicle of Purple Heart Homes.
John, sorry for interrupting you, but I think that's another dimension of what you just said is the VA does not bring the community in to do the ramp. So we did a project for a guy that lives across the street from me. When we did the project for him, he kind of pulled me aside and he said, are you telling me these people came over from Lynchburg to help put a ramp? I've never met any of these people before. And I said, Jimmy, they're just veterans that want to show you that you're valued and that you're loved and you're respected. And he just sat up on his porch. He couldn't move much. But he was so thankful and deep in thought about what this meant to him. So it's much more than just a physical project of a ramp. It's really an emotional problem too. I call it seeing with your heart.
Absolutely.
I think it provides a level of healing, right? And, oftentimes we hear the words welcome home, but, I think it's when the community receives you, that's when you're truly home.
Yep.
I think it's one thing to be here physically, but it's another thing when you have people welcome you home. And so many veterans, even in today's time, don't receive a parade, right? They may not have a giant flag and fire trucks waiting at the airport, or, for me, it was coming home at, 1 o'clock in the morning, landed in Bangor, Maine. And there was only 7 Vietnam vets there standing saluting, right? It wasn't a big parade. It was quiet, but I never forgot that.
That is amazing, though, that those Vietnam veterans were there for you, and they certainly didn't get that welcome. I commend those men for being out there. All those Vietnam veterans who've been supporting all the folks that come home from the post 9/11 activities that we've had, because they did something that wasn't done for them, And I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing part of why you do what you do, why you started this organization, is because folks like that showed you that welcome.
Well, it very much is, and it's also this unstated lesson that was learned really by Dale and I from the Vietnam veterans that we have to take care of each other. The Vietnam veterans are the reason we have our benefits today, and they're the reason the VA is the organization it is today. And so it's a way for us to say, hey, message received, we're tracking, and we're going to continue to carry on the mission.
We got your 6.
Well, thank you for starting this great organization. We're going to hear a little bit more about Purple Heart Homes and all the good things we're doing right after this break.
And welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together. You are with, don't you know, you are with Leah Gutierrez and Devil Dog Devin. And I apologize. I just looked over at Devin as he's putting his leg on his lap, and I'm like, your legs are so stumpy. Oh, yeah. They're so
what
they look like little baby carrots.
Oh, so I mean, you're not wrong. So if I'm sitting next to John's like 6'2", and I am 5'7". If we're sitting next to each other,
taller than you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
gonna claim
short.
that 1 inch. So
I double up on my odor eaters just so I can be the same height.
Oh my gosh.
But when I'm sitting next to John, I look like I'm taller than him sitting because I'm like all torso.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you sleep at night, Devin. If it makes you feel good about your big boy self.
When I stand up, he's like 6 inches taller than me. Like, hello.
Hi. Hi.
Yeah. Mike's pretty tall too. How tall are you, Mike?
6'2".
6'2". Y'all the same height? Oh, wait.
Y'all are making the back of my head hurt. I'm laughing so much.
John's got more hair than me.
Oh my gosh.
But he's just so fun to pick on because he laughs at everything. And I think that's just a defense mechanism.
It might be. I'm really secretly crying on the inside. There's yeah. Speaking of crying.
We
got a tearjerker of a story that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to take it down a notch. So something happened right before the holidays in Virginia. And it was really just a situation that we hear way too much coming from veterans. But Mike, I think I'm going to let you tell the story because you know it a little bit better than I do. And I've heard you tell it before. And
I'll see if you see me choking up, somebody take it back from me. But my wife and I were at the Christmas dinner for the Lynchburg Area Veterans Council, the LAVC as they call it.
Right.
In Lynchburg, I forget what night it was, like the 21st, 22nd of December. And we're sitting there chit-chatting with everybody over dinner, how's your food, et cetera. And then Pam Zirkle from the Virginia Department of Veterans Services was another person at the dinner. And she came up to me and said, can I talk to you for a minute? I got something I want to bounce off of you. I said, sure. So I got up, went over to her side of the table, sat down for a minute, and she said, I'm wondering if you remember in September when a veteran killed his girlfriend, killed another man, and then took his own life. And I said, I do kind of remember that. Yep. I don't remember much of the details of it. And she said, well, the 2 children that are orphaned now, twin 6-year-olds from that situation, are living up near you. And I said, do you know where? And she said, no, I'm going to talk to the lady tomorrow. And I just want to make sure that you're okay if I tell her about you and give you her contact info after I get permission to do it. I said, sure. So anyway, the next day I got an email from Pam with the contact info. I called the lady, introduced myself. She knew who I was. I asked a few questions to get some more details on the situation. And when I got done talking to her, I called John and I told John what was going on. And John, correct me if I tell this wrong, but I think what you said is you're going to reach out and see if we can find some things that we could contribute, gift cards, cash, whatever, to the family, and then figure out a way to get it to them before Christmas. So next thing I know, John calls me back and says, we've raised $2,000 of gift cards.
Wow.
Why don't you and I meet in the middle and exchange them? and then you can deliver them.
And correct me if I'm wrong. That was like in one day that through his connections, through Purple Heart Homes, people were willing and able to help out, and they just had a heart for giving and decided to help this family.
Yeah, so I called the lady back, and I called Rex Bruce, the president of the Central Virginia chapter. Rex and I drove out there Christmas Eve and met some of the family and the mother, the aunt, and talked about what Purple Heart Homes does and why we're there, and talked through the cards. And then after we did that, which was pretty emotional, Rex started talking about, tell us about your situation in your home. It's like a 1,500, maybe 1,200 square foot home.
I think it's
with
1,200 square foot.
Seven people living in it.
Right. She has multiple children of her own, right?
Correct. And they're in various ages. Like we met her 18-year-old daughter and saw a couple of the other kids running around and stuff. But the house is very small for that many family members,
Right.
including
3 children, and then she added on these 2.
Yeah, and it's the twin children are 6 years old, and it's a boy and a girl. And we saw them. So we did a little assessment, measured the house. Rex knows a little bit about plumbing, so he did some assessment of plumbing situation. One of the toilets and sinks is broken, so took pictures and notes and stuff.
Because a contractor come and started a job, got paid, and then never finished it.
Yeah,
Oh,
a
my.
contractor basically came in and removed a toilet out of one of the 2 bathrooms, capped it off, shut off the water to the sink next to the toilet. So they have all these people living in a place that has one functional bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
So Rex and I took a lot of notes and a couple of pictures and got back on the phone with John. And what we're doing right now is we're working in partnership with the Lynchburg Area Veterans Council. Go ahead, John, you got something?
Yeah, I just and before we get into the partnership and kind of what we're planning to do, a couple of things I want to peel back the onion a little bit on a few of these comments that you've just made. I'm going to summarize it. So, a Marine that was 100% service-connected disabled for post-traumatic stress because of his service commits suicide. That's horrible on a family. So imagine the kids that had to live with that and knowing that their father committed suicide, no matter how old they are, right? That's horrible. Now to think that those kids also lost their mom
Absolutely.
at the same time and are essentially orphaned. The aunt, who doesn't have the means or the room, was gracious enough and loved her family enough that she took those kids in. And so for me, and Mike, it's I'll let you say it in your words, but it's love, right? It's how can the empathy is overwhelming, right? And there's so many people around us that want to help. They want to do something that's meaningful and help people that truly have a need that can't help themselves. And how was it that you said in your address to the board in your email about love and hope? Was that phrase that you shared with us? That when you're loving through your work and...
Oh, I compared it. So Devin and I exchanged recipes. He likes to cook. I like to cook. Although I don't get awkward stains on my shirt like that.
Story for another day.
So Devin and I are swapping. So when I started that letter, I was looking up mirepoix. How do you start the base of some Cajun dishes and things like that? And I just said, if mirepoix is the base of something that you nourish your body with, then what we're doing right now to help this family is nourishing their spirit and their soul and encouraging the love that they've already just voluntarily. And that's one thing I'll say about the family that we're helping is there is nobody that's sad in the house. It's just a house full of love. And everybody's clean and well cared for and fed. They're just in a tight situation. They need some help with the room.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's talking about 7 people in a 1,200 square foot home. And and 5 of them are children.
The other dimension of this to me, John, is I've had several friends take their own lives, and 2 of them were Cobra pilots, and it always hits me in multiple levels and very hard. And so to now be able to, I mean, people think about 22 a day. I think it's a lot higher than that through self-medication and alcohol and things like that. But 22 a day is the slogan. You don't really hear many people talk about the aftermath and how to help the people that survived move forward with the rest of their lives and know that they're loved.
Well, I think that's also the way we can combat soldier suicide, veteran suicide, is by letting them know that they're loved. Makes a difference.
And this is a subject that, it's always on our hearts and our mind. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it when we come right back.
Welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together. Devin, help.
I'm just watching you sniff your microphone.
The break,
what are you doing?
During the break, I got too close to my microphone. I'm like, this microphone stinks. And then Mike's over here giggling.
Why are you doing this?
I did notice that Joe moved that microphone from Devin's spot before the show. That must have been the one he was using before.
Are you implying that I made the microphone smell bad somehow?
Not implying. We are saying.
Most dogs have bad breath.
Yeah, you did take my mic.
Am I really holding your mic? Is this your mic? Here, we'll switch.
Too now. I'm already traumatized.
Well, since there's no help for you, let's get back to these folks in Virginia that we are helping. I think right before the break, we told the story of this veteran who unfortunately he took his own life and the life of the mother of his children, left them orphaned, and thankfully their aunt took them in despite the fact of having 3 children of her own, 7 people living in this house. And it's 1,200 square foot, 1 toilet, and there's contractor had come in and not finished work. And so, but all the people in the house are happy and they're feeling loved. And right before Christmas, Mike went out there, visited with them.
And Rex.
Yeah, let's not forget about Rex. He's a great fella over there at the Central Virginia chapter of Purple Heart Homes. They're doing great things over there at that chapter. Thank you so much. But that takes us up to the story. So now what's going on? Can you tell us a little bit about what happens next?
Yeah, so Purple Heart Homes Central Virginia chapter and the Lynchburg Area Veterans Council have partnered to raise money and to find contractors that'll go there once and come back again and finish work.
Important factor.
Yeah, it's an important factor. The home is towards the West Virginia border of Virginia. It's kind of up in the hills a bit. Nice community, but it takes an hour for me to get there from my house. So we got to line up some things. We're in the process of trying to raise money. I'll let John talk about the nature of the partnership from a corporate perspective, but just to be able to work with the LAVC folks. Tom Current is the president of that organization. Like I said, we got 7 or 8 veteran serving organizations that work together. They meet once a month. And Rex and I get a chance to brief them on the 15th, which is next Wednesday, to talk about what we did as a chapter in 2024 and then things that we're going to do in 2025, which include delivering a tiny home to Brian Moore, the combat wounded Army veteran.
Oh yeah,
and this project with the twins, and
we're going to talk about that Brian Moore project in another episode as well. So make sure you keep watching because that is a heart-wrenching story right there.
Mike, it's really interesting as you talk about this project. It's the veteran's deceased, right? And in the manner, this is really about the family, and it's about doing the right thing. And so when this project first came up, for me personally, it's beyond the mission scope of Purple Heart Homes and kind of what we really do in our core, especially when you consider we have roughly 1,400 veterans in the pipeline that are waiting for support themselves. But just hearing the story and knowing Rex's heart as a leader of the Lynchburg chapter, Purple Heart Homes, having the LAVC behind the project and supporting the community support that's poured out, the number of individuals that, as they've heard about the story, that have pledged to funding. We're a collaborator in this project and helping to facilitate the people to be able to do the work. And that's really what it's about for me. It's very much about letting people know that there's something that they can do to help as you say, in the aftermath of suicide.
Yeah.
There's families that are left hurting. These children did nothing, absolutely nothing, to ask for, deserve to be orphaned. And if we can do something as a community, I believe that it's incumbent upon us to take action. And that's what Purple Heart Homes is doing. We're stepping up to take action and facilitate the fundraising efforts to be able to support this particular family. And so we've got an online campaign going where people can go to Purple Heart Homes Facebook page and to our website, and they can support a generous donor through the Mike Endowment.
Not related.
You have an endowment, Mike? Let's talk about that.
Man.
The Mike Endowment is Mental Illness Kindness Endowment.
Oh, wow.
And Joe Zeiler stepped up when he heard about this project, and he stepped up and he pledged $15,000 to match individual gifts up to $15,000 to support this project. And it just shows you, again, the number of people that are willing to invest their time, talent, and treasures to be able to make a difference in this world. And that's truly what Rex and the chapter's doing. They're leading the charge to make a difference and change the trajectory in the future for this family.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of hit me when Rex and I went up there the first time to deliver the gift cards. As we were getting ready to leave, the aunt looked at us both and said, "I got one more thing." And we both stopped and kind of looked at her, and she said, "I just want to say, I can't believe that there are people out there that I have never met that will drive on Christmas Eve to come and do something like this for us." And, it just was very touching. It was very hard to not just stand there and sob. But I was super proud and super happy to be able to be one of the people representing the organizations that are at play here. And I appreciate them all.
And not to call you out, Mike, but everybody thinks that Marines are really tough and hardcore. And, I've seen through this project and some others, a softer side of a Marine Cobra pilot. And I know your heart is worn on your sleeve.
That's medication.
You can still be hardcore and have some empathy.
I thought it was the crayons.
So what changes are you making to their home to help accommodate the number of people?
Well, the house is basically a rectangle. So we're going to probably take one end of the rectangle that faces the road and just extend it out as many feet as our budget will permit.
Awesome.
So we'll engineer the budget, kind of, probably. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of unanswered questions right now, but the aunt provided, I said that, is that North Dakotish?
Aunt?
North Dakota. No. Aunt.
Aunt?
Yes, aunt.
The spring thaw will be here in a while. I lived in Aberdeen, South Dakota for a while.
Oh, there you go. So you know the cold.
But we got to do some figuring out. Rex Bruce asked the aunt about a week ago, can you write up the things that you think you need? And it's living space for the kids, well, perhaps study space. We're trying. They homeschool them, so we're trying to figure out.
Wow. Okay,
if we built something onto it, what would it look like? How but we got a lot of design work to do. But we have her thinking now about requirements. What would she benefit? What would the kids benefit from? That kind of perspective. We want to keep it functional. We want to maximize the contributions of the dollars to the kids' quality of life. So we're thinking through all that.
And you mentioned that as
Living space would be the short answer.
Right. Yeah.
And plumbing help and maybe some heating too. They had a wood burning stove that she has to reload every 4 hours.
Oh, wow. They're using a wood burning stove in this
Correct.
home as well?
Correct.
In Virginia, where it gets pretty cold in that area, like, right now outside for us, it's 31 degrees.
It was 9 degrees when I left my house this morning.
Holy
and
smokes.
She's probably 3 or 4 degrees colder than that because she's higher up.
Now, you said as much as funds would allow, and you mentioned a matching donation, John. For those who don't know, how does a matching donation differ than a regular one?
So essentially, Joe and the Mike Endowment have said for every dollar that you will give, they will give $1 up to $15,000. Yep. And I'll say, it's not all about just the dollars, right? Yes, we got to buy 2x4s and siding and windows and that kind of thing, but it's also about labor. And it's not always about what labor you can provide, but maybe somebody that can provide some labor and some support, right? So share the message, share this story far and wide, and there's good people that are out there, and if they can support us with some of their time, some of their talent, and some of their treasure, then we can make a difference and change the life for this family. And I would also hope that this story of Rex and the Lynchburg Area Veterans Council, that it will inspire some other communities to step up, and that they will do some of the same, that they'll help veterans and veterans families in their communities.
Can I add something to that? I've told the LAVC a couple of times they should be a national model for how communities rally the organizations that already exist to work together with a perspective on the veterans that they're trying to serve. Instead of playing rice bowls and this is mine, I'm not going to tell you about it. They don't do that. Once a month, they get all those organizations together. Tom Current acts as the MC, and they just walk around. What are y'all working on? What do you need help with? Who are you serving? And they cross-pollinate and help each other quite a bit.
We can do so much more when we work together instead of working for ourselves.
Well, thank you both for being on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of y'all's busy schedule. You want to hear more about the Central Virginia chapter of Purple Heart Homes and Purple Heart Homes in general, make sure you go back and catch this broadcast or on YouTube. Follow us, like, subscribe. Hey, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together.
Bye.